Hi everyone, I'm Muriel Gérin. Welcome to the Trend Conference for Text Worlds. This is Fairyland for Fashion. So this is Text World Shawls and Scarves Avant-Tex and Text World Denim. This is from the Mr. Frankfurt Group, and we're very happy to have you all here today, particularly for this Trend Conference to present you all the different inspirations for Spring-Summer 2020. There are going to be two parts to the presentation. First of all, I'm going to give you all the information which is in the trend book. If you don't speak French, don't hesitate to ask for a headset. It will be translated into English. So in the first section, we're going to take a look at the 8 concerns of the consumer, the human beings, because we're all consumers are, of course, human beings. Physical people, and we have sentiments and emotions and feelings. And secondly, we're going to see how these preoccupations, these interest points, these 8 points in society are going to be imbricated to actually create these trends of tomorrow, the color ranges, the textures, and the different appearances, and to develop us in our creative development. First of all, I'd just like to say I am one of the arts director of this trade fair with Gregory, and we work with a round table comprising authors, designers, architects, or writers, and all different types of creative people, including sociologists. And we meet twice a year to actually see what's happening, to see what the different aspects are going to be and create the trends of the next season. So, in the first instance, we're going to look at the trend concepts. We're going to go through all these different ones: microcosm, tumult, sphere, membrane, waves, links, path, and human. These are our major themes. And as you can see on the cover of our source book, we are going to be talking about going back to natural elements, raw materials, which make us what we really are. The very fact that we're human beings. The first awareness that we have become aware of is this microcosm, our environment. Obviously, everybody is aware of a global awareness of global warming and migration, which is increasing, and this is happening all over the world, and this is due to changes to our world climate and other changes in society. So this awareness, based on the fragility of the environment, which will guide us in our reflections. So, in this vein, you can see there is a real attraction for plants, palatability for plants, which you can see this beautiful image at the center of the image. This is Tadao Ando's The Mountain Hill of the Buddha in Japan, in a park which was remodeled via a new vision of nature, with a strong collaboration between landscaping and architecture to create this original microcosm, this natural environment which is so important for our everyday lives. There are other works like this interior forest at this beautiful town, the name of which I've forgotten. Oh, where is it? I can't remember. Oh, it's in Singapore. Thank you so much. Thank goodness my team is here. This internal forest, or Anvers royal greenhouses. So this all underlines the correlation that we have with nature. This nature, well, when we observe it, what do we see? What we can see that it is being destroyed. This tumult which is all around us, which has already started. And this shows us the errors of the past. You can see some of the atrocities committed in Syria, in the Palmyra temple. And you can see what has happened in different other Syrian towns and cities. And there are a whole range of artworks like these pigeons on the top right, produced by a foreign artist, which actually tells us that nature is omnipresent and we are in the process of destroying our universe. This tumult, this ruination of the past is still present with us, and this is something that we have to build upon. These are vestiges of the past that we're going to have to use to rebuild our future, to compose a new world and break down the tumult that is omnipresent. You know, we can talk about creative cataclysm, about the tamed threat, and the brutal print left by man in our microcosm. This type of dichotomy between the tumult and our serenity makes us become really aware of the fragility of our Earth, of this habitable planet which we live in. So this is why we're going to see many artworks where the spherical element is very present. We're going to see a lot of luminous intensity with, for example, Ingo Morrow's work, Lucy in the Sky, which is a beautiful lamp, where the lamps or the bulbs are at the end of our fingertips. And much more dreamlight and light and simple, which is also complex. And with these elements will bring us back to think about the sphere, which is the basis of our Earth. So one of the most important elements of the season is this spherical sphere and this luminous density where we play with organic aspects and inanimate aspects, which are the vestiges of our past. Also, in the second section of the presentation, we can see how they can all be put together to create aesthetics. So we've talked about our eras of the past and ruins and the tumult, and we are now going to look at the aspect of membranes, which symbolizes our life via the plastic, which is omnipresent, which is absolutely ubiquitous, which invades our oceans, which is swallowed by ocean animals. These plastic membranes are wrapping us up, and we're going to have to cohabit with the plastic in the future. And we're going to have to make sure that we can live with it so that it does not become a real charge, like this image number 6 on page 19 actually indicates. This epitomizes the accumulation of plastic. And Nadine Gupfer's collages also epitomize this. All this idea of plastic being asphyxiating, and these different envelopes which reveal the shape and the detrimental character of plastic. So there's a lot of correlation between the human body and plastic and spheres, as we've talked about already, in a plastified form. Basically to compensate for our culpability for the fact that we've actually created all this waste produce. So we're going to talk about condition saturation, material asphyxia, and this is all done to actually make sure that we feel less guilty for what we've done in the past. And this, we've seen this in quite a lot of artworks and also in different literature. So we're talking about plastic, and we're now talking about waves. Now we're talking about all this movement, it's organic movement via plastic and different materials between the spheres that we've talked about. This microcosm that is our own, which is around us, which we're going to look at this more and more. In the season, there will be a lot of architecture, like the fantastic work here on the screen on the right-hand side at the top. This is the work of MRDV architects, where you can see the building looks as if it's actually taking off into the microcosm. And water will be very important. We can actually see the movement of the waves, the actual ripples of our actions that we're going to try and interpret and set to make us more and more aware of the errors of the past as we go into the future. I talked about the sphere, of course, a blue planet. You can imagine it easily. You know, it's a blue sphere which is made of water. We're going to talk about vibrations as well, vibrations of the earth, and of how our microcosm actually vibrates, how we are immersed in this beautiful nature which is being destroyed by this chaos. And we're going to try and interpret this via these paralyzed waves and the architectural swing and the structural eddies and water movements, which we try and capture and observe as a real sensitization to what's happening in the world, because this is the real sense of our quest for going back to the natural sources of our life. Obviously, we're going to look at many different beautiful works. When you're talking about water, you have to think about Christy Rogers' work, this wonderful poetic work, who takes photographs under the sea and pictures of aquatic elements, swimming pools, observing this natural movement. So we're going to have to take our distance from our blue planet. So there are different elements, as I've talked about, the microcosm, the blue planet, organic materials, and this has a link. This has a link between cause and effect, in the literal sense and in the figurative sense. Because everything is correlated, we have to try and find out and observe and to make a metaphor of these elements. And these become therefore very physical, very tangible, as you can see on the screen. The work, for example, of Franco Bellucci, who links plastic objects, waste products, and assembles them together so that we are aware of the strong link between our past, our future, our present, our waste products, our ruins, which all bond together which really can become a charge for us. When you're talking about plastic waste, for example, we wanted to create metaphoric, luminous links, weaving a correlation between all these different objects in our microcosm. So this is something that is like a living sphere, and this can be materialized, which to give us food for thought about our future and project us towards the future, rather than pulling us back into the past, so that we can actually become anchored in the present. Well, I talked about metaphors and links and current elements, and the concretization of this path, of this reflection, which is really part of our inner depths, and this actually leads us to the inner meaning of ourselves. And this actually can be seen in the materialization of a path towards a better world, which is symbolized on the ribbons, the rainbow ribbons on our badges. So the rainbow, over the rainbow, is really very symbolic to look for a wonderful, better, full, dreamlike world, a perfect world. This is what we're trying to do. We're going to try and move to the future, and this can be epitomized by these multicolored aspects, these different hues of colors, these fluctuations of light and color and material. A little bit like a pedestrian crossing that leads us towards tomorrow, going up or down a staircase which actually brings us into a new space, a new dreamlike area. As you can see, also we have time gates, these time gates that were created by that famous artist whose name I've forgotten. But this is all part of the dreamlike experience to project ourselves into a better future, to go over the rainbow just like Dorothy. Obviously, as we know, the rainbow is a fragmentation of different lights via a prism. Observing our microcosm, it's something that is absolutely true, but it's also a materialization of problems in our society of today. That we need to develop more tolerance. And this image of the rainbow flag is becoming more important in society to incite us to be more tolerant, to be more sharing. The rainbow flag is the flag of the LGBT community. This is also epitomized in the development of non-gender and harmonious living together towards a better, a more positive life. You know, this is all part of fluidity and optimism. We're going to be very optimistic in the season to come, but we're going to be nevertheless realistic about what's happening. So there is a dichotomy between a deep path of and awareness of the fact that we're actually destroying the world and the ubiquitous waste and destruction, combined with an idea of holding out our hands to future generations and create together something very positive. And to do this, we have to be human beings. This universal body, this physical interface will be used, our bodily envelope will be absolutely decisive in depicting the microcosm of our humanity. It is the fount of our ideas, our emotions, our feelings, and this will be materialized via virtual and fictitious characters that convey a very positive image of sharing and I'm sorry to be a little bit repetitive, but this is what I really think. And this development of cross-gender, non-gender aspects, people who can accept their femininity. This is not new, of course. Femininity will become a little bit more masculine, but nevertheless, this cross-gender element will have to be more and more assumed, but in a beautiful, fluid composition. And I think the image of others will become much more realistic, much more positive. Obviously, we can look at the beautiful sculptures of the past. This year, we are seeing many exhibitions of sculptures, of wonderful sculptures. I can't remember this one here. Is this not the Kiss by Rodin? Oh, it's Greg's anniversary today, so that's why I'm a little bit short on my memory. Could you give him a little hand? Thank you. Greg's anniversary. So I've lost my thread. I hope this is intelligible to you. So, coming back to the Italian Renaissance and these wonderful sculptures where dance, the body in movement, the completely and virtual, natural, denatured body comes into its own. And this is something that we're going to accept in the season to come. This transformation of the body, which could be synonym of bad boys in the past, but now this is the image of optimism. We have the right to have our own qualities and weak points. And this will all be part of the theme of the future. So this gives a lot of food for thought. The human being, our past, these connections, the emerged connections, the waves, the dreamlike phases. These are many elements that are going to shape the season. And now we're going to see how this will all cross-fertilize to create the trends and the new aesthetic movements of the future. First of all, we're talking about precursory remnants. This is the acceptation, as I've said, of our past and the link between the past and the future, but profoundly accepting the present. Obviously, lots of pictures of ruins, mineral textures, the use of waste products, but in a very positive, dreamlike manner. All these traces of the past will be used in a positive manner. So we're going to have a very mineral range with beautiful chalk-like, earth-like tones, which contrast with the positive blue to create this wonderful spirit, as you can see on the screen, epitomized on the screen, which will transport us to a petrified caress of a mixture of soft materials, glossy materials, which we want to actually give a positive twist to. Obviously, we're going to see little echoes of the Renaissance, also reminders of the future with mirrors looking back on the past. You can We're going to also see a lot of black because of oil slicks, for example. Obviously, this is an error of the past, so what can we do with it? Let's create something positive. But we also need to construct on what already is existing, construct our new future, and this is what we're trying to do with this color palette. In terms of materials, we will find, and you'll see this in the main forum, so you have to go and see this. It's not on the screen, you see, so I'm going to incite you to go and look at these. So you'll see a lot of veils, you'll see metal inclusions, a lot of strass mixed with a very raw materials. You'll see lurex, encrusted lurex. We'll have cotton set with golden elements, textures and surfaces with this mineral aspect, but very delicate, very subtle, a little bit like this color range. Yeah, a mixture of something that's very raw but very precious. It's very elegant, very sophisticated, very chic, so that we can actually apologize for the errors of our past and go towards the future with humility and espouse a range which will provide elegance. On the other hand, this inverted fossilization, the self-destruction, the paradoxical reconstruction, we're going to have a second theme, which will be the reincarnated relic. So these assemblage in plastic and other materials made of waste products, this is something that we have to come to terms with these different membranes that are ubiquitous, plastic, all these materials that are still with us, who are following us, and which are lighting the path to the future, allowing us to go towards the future. Something that we threw away that was ugly, we are now going to actually recover this, and this will allow us to do something very beautiful. And this is what we're going to do with our reincarnated relics.
We'll have to do something positive and beautiful with all this weight. To do so, we're going to choose a very positive array of colors with the sharp contrasts. Colors that do represent plastic, like the yellow, lemon yellow with or green, which echoes nature, which is slightly acid, or orange and red. Vast array of cameo colors, and that conveys a positive message. And with all this waste, we're going to turn it all into something positive and joyful. So it's really like have fun with your own garbage and build up the future. So with this reincarnated relic spirit, we're going to find many polymers, with all the plastic materials that we had forgotten about in the recent past for the benefits of natural materials. But this time, we're going to go back to polyesters and recycled polymers. We're going to use material compressions, quite a lot of woven materials, or tweeds with flashy colors. We're going to reinterpret classics with a modern touch at the junction of what we could call plastic wires that we like to mix, just like electric cables. But a lot of positivism with a lot of colored metals, iridescent metals, and sequins as well. with the plastic balls and spheres, and that's quite joyful to play with for the future. And that definitely, all these materials will be interconnected. In terms of patterns, many stripes, as you can see on the screen, page 61 as well in your booklet. Just like what we can see on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. That's a way just to create a positive path, a colorful, positive path in front of us, just to create a lot of positivity. Something quite colorful and playful, joyful. And this will contrast with our third topic, which is the flickering oasis. Flickering oasis is really this awareness of the current society that we live in a frail world, and this will be expressed through delicate colors referring to natural elements. Water, for instance, transparency of the air, the blue sky, the depth of abyss, or mineral colors of the rock, but also a dried blood color, what we call unstable oxide. It's dark blood color that will give a lot of darkness in a very modern and streamlined aesthetics. Many elements of this season will be about metal, laminated element, murex, or metal coatings as well. A lot of three-dimensional sculptures, minimalistic sculptures or shadows that will constantly be presented with grooves and embosses, and it's about nature that is fully expressing itself in front of us, and that will give us this idea of delicacy and frailty, but also a notion of strength. So I told you about the array of colors, the materials, the aspects, and what else? Oh yes. Well, this topic of the flickering oasis, we're going to refer to this tumult, the tumult of the environment, the tumult of nature, just like a tempest surrounding us. So in terms of patterns, we're going to have a lot of plants, which is quite useful, of course, and flowers as well. This season, there will be no positive floral patterns, liberty patterns, but rather get into the heart of the matter, just like a hostile jungle with dark colors. Nature will really become quite dark, like a terrifying environment that will surround us. Also something quite calm and peaceful. So that's what we call the flickering oasis, this frailty that is symbolized by the strength of the iceberg that you can see on the screen, that will be expressed with all the colors for the flickering oasis. Fourth topics and last topic, it's what we call the passionate gateway, this strong, positive desire for improvement, trying to build up something positive. It's an urban spirit mixed with nature and positivity, with this rainbow that you can see on the screen that will be expressed in the city, in the urban grey atmosphere. So we're going to have this rainbow positivity that will be expressed, but in more reasonable terms, if you like, calculated positivity, just to go to a brighter future. And therefore, we're going to mix many elements. We've referred to these rainbow gradients, for instance. So we're going to see purple, violent purple, something quite strong and acid, just like a reminder of all these plastic acids just out of the trash. And that will contrast with the orange colors or the no gender blue, which it's not blue, it's not green, it's in the middle, with a contrast of orange and red, just like in the 70s or the 80s. Things we saw in the previous seasons. That will lead us to something very modern, very contemporary array of colors with some gray, with a concrete, asphalt kind of spirit, just like the images that you can see on the screen, just like the urban, aggressive environment which shows all the mistakes of the past, but that will be completely turned into something very positive and colorful. Referring to the materials, now it will be a lot of transparent veils, superimposed materials, different shades of colors. The patterns will be geometrical and mixed, just like these tags on the wall that you can see on the screen. It's really an urban spirit with the masculine materials that will be reinterpreted. Prince of Wales, for instance, or Boucheron tiles that would be tinted with these very positive urban and rainbow colors. So reinterpretation of classic elements with a very modern range of colors. That's what we should keep in mind for this passionate gateway that will take us towards the future. Just like you can see on the screen, it's a very positive spirit, but quite reasonable still. And you see the star colors, the 9 star colors for the season, with a particular focus on the blue, just to reflect the natural spirit and the spirit of microcosm, living microcosm. We're going to also have this purple, violent purple, that will contrast with the spectral purple, or the savage land, or the precious alabaster or plasticized ink that will take us to a brighter future that exists and that links the present with the uncertain future. Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention, and I do encourage you to go to the Trans Forum at the entrance of Hall to enjoy Textland. Thank you so much.